Telling Ray about earlier, where I was in General Ricardo Sanchez's relinquishment of command ceremony, and I was standing in one of the first ranks. Well, during this final speech of his, I thought that in light of the incredible mercy shown him during the Abu Ghraib investigations, that he would leave without saying anything about it. And the media didn't cover it, but to my shock, even in his final moments, he still tried convincing people that all of his troubles in Iraq and Abu Ghraib were the soldiers' fault. As much as I can remember, he said, "It is up to the soldier in the field to decide between right and wrong, and not be hiding behind politics and policy." And you know, what an odd thing to say coming from a policy maker. I mean, it was his responsibility to tell soldiers and leaders ultimately what was the right thing to do, specifically regarding interrogations. And he let us down, along with many others in the decision-making process. And I bring this up because it continues to amaze me how quickly everyone is willing to throw those few MPs under the bus and call it a day, while letting these leaders who were in charge of the very operation that has brought shame upon us all to get away with murder. Abu Ghraib wasn't some forgotten outpost, but it was to be the premier hub of human intelligence, which at that time had become the meat and potatoes of the intelligence collection. And many plans were being made for that place that, on a silver lining to the black cloud of the scandal, were laid to waste. The leadership was more than intimate with what was going on at Abu Ghraib and why it was. But I'm not saying that the MPs are innocent by any stretch of the imagination. But what most don't realize is that the scandal was used to misdirect attention away from the real villains committing even greater crimes. Some of these crimes have even been made known, and not a finger has been raised to seek justice. So why do you care? I've been asked from the day I set foot on Abu Ghraib. And I tell them because I can't help it. All this abuse and torture, besides being wrong, it doesn't work. It's actually counterproductive to the mission.
That's right.
Conventionally, interrogators know that to truly get information from a prisoner, it's a matter of building rapport with them, getting them to realize that for them the war is over, and getting them to tell their story. But we have been scrapping that strategy and replacing it with the idea that we must have the information and that we must have it now, thinking that the end would justify the means. And as far as Abu Ghraib is concerned, for all the sadness and madness inflicted upon us all, nothing significantly productive came out of it. Something I saw happening there was how treating these people this way was not just an abuse to the abused, but to the abuser themselves. And most of these soldiers never had it in them to treat people this way. But they were told or led to believe that it was their job and that they would be saving soldiers' lives. They felt that what they were doing was righteous. Can you imagine what that does to someone? And if they will ever be the same again? Nice and kind-hearted soldiers were becoming monsters out there. They even wanted me to be on one of their interrogation tiger teams. I am an analyst and had the clearance, but I didn't know if I could even trust myself under such circumstances to give in. And as far as Abu Ghraib is concerned, for all the sadness and madness inflicted upon us all, nothing significantly productive came out of it. Something I saw happening there was how treating these people this way was not just an abuse to the abused, but to the abuser themselves. And most of these soldiers never had it in them to treat people this way. They felt that what they were doing was righteous. Can you imagine what that does to someone? And if they will ever be the same again? Nice and kind-hearted soldiers were becoming monsters out there. and was afraid of what kind of person I would become, and I didn't want to become a part of what I was finding out was going on. But there was one interrogation I was a part of, and even that one was tied to things that are just horrible. Originally, we were going to interrogate an Iraqi general, but we were told he had already been broken. And as a kind of consolation, were offered his 16-year-old son. And against my pleas, they forced me to handcuff him and place a sandbag on his head. Once the interrogation began, it became pretty clear from the outset that this boy was harmless. He was of no intelligence value. The only thing he was guilty of was being this other man's son. But they had actually abused him to get his father to talk. They had also detained him in those human pig pens where the MPs said that the rapes were common. And he cried for his brother, who was also there. He said he was glad that we came, but now that he saw what we were letting happen there, he just didn't know anymore. And I went back in and tried fighting to get him out of the general population where they had detained him, and asked that they would put him in with the women and the children. But they said no, because he was 16, and 16 and up was the standard. And they said this without batting an eye. And to this day, with these events being reported to have taken place, I have no idea what became of that boy, and his face haunts me to this day. That boy, he would have loved us, like so many others. But because of the modus operandi we had in place, we are creating more enemies than we already have. So what can be done? Well, we can change these policies of abuse and torture, which means changing the policymakers.
Yes.
And I thank God that even though some of them did get punished, they're no longer in positions to do any more evil. And we need to stop abuse and torture, not because it just doesn't work, but because it isn't right. And if we are going to detain someone, we need a better system of detaining people that belong to be detained in the first place. For many of these people, they lose everything just getting detained. When we can also speak up. I've paid the piper to this day for learning the truth, My heart is broken, but I don't regret 1 minute of it. Because I know I would be dying daily if I'd stayed with the others in the shadow and hid. So I say, let us raise a fist of righteous indignation against the corruption. Let our voices be heard and go out like David to slay Goliath. Thank you.